Welcome back to the All Things Sports podcast. I am your co-host, Small Town EP. In the week where Clemson loses to Miami, Houston Astros had the biggest problem of them all. And in football, there were more missed calls on the phone on Do Not Disturb. Your host and I, June, are back to give you the real in sports. June, what's popping, man? How you doing?
What's good, bro? It's good to be back. Good to see you. Good to hear you. Um, Everything's good, like you said. The one that stuck out to me the most was Clemson lost to the Hurricanes, and that's a
Come
special
on,
win
man.
right there. It's a long season still. You know the position we're in. We're in striking distance. We just got to do what we got to do. But to be able to spend that Saturday afternoon, evening with you, Marlon, Steve-O, and you know what I'm saying, Dre, the other Dre, Sean, like shout out to all the homies that pulled up, my boy Khalif and Ronnie, Paris. Like we was outside and the energy was there. Shout out to Miami Flow for hosting the tailgate, and treating us like family every single time. We appreciate that. It's always love. And yeah, man, when if I'm in town and there's a Hurricanes game, I'm gonna try to get to that game. You know what I'm saying? So I was glad that I was able to get to my home Hurricanes game. Obviously, I went to that game at Temple, and it was fun. I had a great time. Obviously, great experience with who I was with. Like it was an amazing time. But just the atmosphere of the Hard Rock Stadium, and being around our fans, our tailgate, the beautiful weather in late October. Uh, it's different, and if you know, you know. So shout out to that. Shout out to the Texas Rangers for making the World Series, man. This is something we spoke about on the All Things Sports podcast. Not necessarily that,
Absolutely.
we didn't predict that the Rangers would be here right now, but we did understand what they were bringing into this season and, the opportunity that was ahead of them. They've since been able to knock off one of the better teams in this last, 10 years, um, who's been in the World Series a few times in the last seven. So, you got to give credit where it's due, and guys like Seager, Adolis Garcia. I mean, this guy's gotta be looking for a new payday. Like I don't know what his payday
Ah,
is right now, but he's
the
got to be looking
bag,
for
boy.
an upgrade. Because he's like one of the bigger reasons that they're even in the World Series as we speak. So shout out to Adolis Garcia, and yeah, man, basketball is back. If you haven't seen, I'm rocking the Laker, purple and gold. Got the AD on today because he was playing, so I had to show some support for a team that I wanted to see beat the defending champion Denver Nuggets because damn, they haven't lost since last year, and or last season, and I was just rooting for the Lakers today, if you will. So shout out to basketball being back, and yeah, bro, I'll let you kind of take it over from there.
Nah, for sure. I mean, I wanna piggyback and pivot back anyway back to the ALCS. I mean, I said it before, I'll say it again. This bullpen, the way that the Rangers managed their bullpen, not just this series but throughout the playoffs, particularly this series though, has been amazing. Like they've known who to put in, when to put them in, how long to leave them in for before to move on to the next guy. The way that they've pieced together this World Series run, I mean, it's to me it's remarkable for you to have, Simeon going 1 for 5 in the last game, Carter going 1 for 4, a lot of 1 4s, and you're still, of course, shout out to Dolis Garcia. You're still blowing a team like the Houston Astros out at home in a Game 7 ALCS clinching game, 11-4. I mean, it just speaks volume to the buy-in that these players have to the organization because when the playoffs started, I said it. I was like, yeah, they beat Tampa Bay, but I don't see them. They're bullpen, and I guess they listened to ATS because they came out ready to play. And then on the other hand, we got the right now. Are you still watching that right now?
What's
You
that?
still got that the NLCS right now, Game 7 live right now.
Shit, it's I'm not, I turned it off. I got our stream on, but it's still 4-2, top of the eighth, no out. So um, Arizona has a chance to add some insurance runs right now, but Philly really, really needs to buckle down. And sorry, bottom of the eighth, Philly has a chance to,
Yes.
what I'm saying, tie this thing up, no outs. So we'll see what's going on with that. But right now, as it stands, man, Arizona looks like they're gonna head to their first World Series berth since what 2001 against New York.
Whoo, that was Randy days, right?
Randy Johnson, man, and I could be wrong,
Randy
but
Johnson.
I don't remember the Diamondbacks in the World Series since.
No, not at all.
Cool.
Not at all.
Um,
Not at all.
I do want to
It's a
give credit
it's a
to
beautiful run.
Bruce Bochy, man. You know, like him coming here and first year at Texas going to the World Series, right? This is a guy who ironically started his career as a player in Houston. And so the team he made his debut for in July of 1978, that Astros team, he beat that team in 7 games to go to his fourth World Series as a manager. Uh, I mean, he's trying to win his fourth World Series as a manager. He's got three, and that came at a time with the Giants when when that Giants team was on a nice run. So it's a cool thing to see. You know, Bochy being able to find the success with this new roster, and you know they have a brand new stadium. This was like an exciting thing. It was an exciting uh, thing for baseball, you know, coming up in Texas this year. And for them to get Scherzer at the deadline, like little things like that is just, you know, championship opportunity and
Absolutely.
move. So I'm gonna be real excited to see what matchup it'll be. I still don't want to call this Phillies game. Anything can happen, and Arizona can go out and win this, but I do see a world where Philadelphia literally just comes back and you know Kyle Schwarber or something. Um, so we'll leave
It
that there.
happens.
But for now, the Rangers are in the World Series representing the American League.
And before we pivot over to the NBA, I do want to shout out to Ketel Marte, man. This guy's having an outstanding run for Arizona. I mean, he's batting 375 in the playoffs right
Talk
now.
about it.
Four doubles, a triple, two home runs, seven RBIs. Like it's the run that he's on right now. I mean, it's it's remarkable, and again another buy-in because these are teams that no one really thought was going to be. I mean,
Yep.
ATS said early that the Rangers were, but no one thought that Arizona was gonna be in this position,
Yeah.
and especially against a Philly team that throughout these entire playoffs reminded the world like, hey, we were just here last year, like don't get it, I'm saying, don't get it fucked up, like we're
Right.
still defending NLCS champions, and everyone counted them out throughout the season with the struggles they were having with batting and things like that, and they showed up to play as well. So no one thought that Arizona was going to be here, much less in the game 7 against the reigning NLCS champions. So shout out to Ketel Marte and the Arizona Diamondbacks on this run right now.
100%. I mean, Corbin Carroll, you know, National League Rookie of the Year candidate. You know, battled through injury, ups and downs, and he's found his way. He's found his way. So right now, Philadelphia looks like it's going to be a sad city tonight, but you best believe if they win this game, it's going to go up. But Kyle Schwarber, I need Kyle Schwarber to do, you know, work his magic. I mean, this guy has the most home runs by he got the most home runs in MLB postseason history by a lefty, and I think he's down only like one or two home runs behind Manny Ramirez all time. So, I mean, shout out to
Oh,
Kyle
that's
Schwarber.
lit.
But I don't
That
want him
is
to break
lit.
that record. I mean, I need Manny Ramirez, you know what I'm saying, hold that strong. But nah, shot if Kyle Schwarber could, if Kyle Schwarber could break the record, that'd be pretty awesome to see. Um, but yeah, man, I'll be excited either way. I think it'll be a fun World Series. These are three entertaining teams that are still left um, with a chance to compete. So shout out to them.
I know you alluded to the NBA being back, so you got that Lakers jersey on, and you were rooting for them. And to be honest, I was rooting for them too. I typically, from a betting perspective, that home team that's getting their rings typically doesn't really come out ready to play on that day. To come out a bit emotional, as most people would say. But the Nuggets came out to play today, and the Lakers made a game, later into the game, but the Nuggets really came out and they came to play. Jokic picking up where he left off with a triple double.
Oh yeah,
Just doing typical MVP shit. I didn't get a chance to catch much of it. I know that you said you saw a little bit of it. Did you see anything interesting, anything that stood out? I know it was our first look at Braun in year 21, is if I'm not mistaken, right?
Definitely. I think he was probably on a little minutes restriction, just kind of getting back into the groove of things. It was good to see AD go out there for 34 minutes, but LeBron put up a steady 21, 8 and 5, nothing crazy. What stood out to me though, you mentioned, and in the group chat I saw Lakers money line, Lakers money line. I mean, if this is the Denver team that just beat the Miami Heat team in the finals just in June, what are we talking about? Like, this team is far better than most teams in the NBA right now. And um, I think with the Denver Nuggets, their style of play is so true and pure basketball wise that and there's not a lot of ego. And I mean, Michael Porter, he's gonna get his shots up. You know what I mean? He's gonna get his shots up. But outside of that, there's not a lot of ego in that locker room, if any at all. And that type of basketball doesn't waver, like, okay, we're emotional, okay, we're happy, okay, like, we're still going to play the right way. And shots got to knock down. You're going to get good looks, you're moving the ball and making the right pass. Shots got to knock down, and that's why they're pros and getting paid what they do. But they put themselves in the position, the best position to win game in, game out, and I expect them to do that all season. And this is like a 60-62 win team, in my opinion. Like, I can see this Denver team getting to that 65. I mean, 65 is a stretch, and I'm opening night, I'm not even hyping them up. I'm just saying they play such good style of basketball, and they have exactly what they need for what they do, that they're gonna beat all the teams that they should. I don't see this team getting taken advantage of on a, oh, it was just a warm Tuesday. No, like, this Denver team is just too good. So it's gonna be exciting to see. And one thing that I was um, that stood out to me was that they had five players, all five starters in double figures, and three players score over 20 points. So when you when you got that, I mean, listen, and that's Jokic is the only person that had over 10 assists. So, it's just game one. It's nothing to, nothing to go crazy about. But it is something to evaluate, something to look at, and see what went wrong and how things can go better. I mean, they both had 11 turnovers. They both had, 52 to 58 points in the paint. Rebounds was 42, 42, 44, 42. Free throws, they both shot 75%, but the Lakers shot 45 and 34 from the field, and 52 and 41 from the field, and three from Denver. Efficiency. And that's, again, going back to style of play. So realistically, this Denver team is just better, like I said, than most teams in the NBA. And this is the same team that beat this Lakers team, who have retooled since that Western Conference Finals. And it wasn't necessarily a great series because this Denver team, that's that. So I'm not going to keep going off on Denver and saying how good they
Facts.
are. We'll know and we'll see it. I do think this team can get to that 62 to 64 win mark this year, which would be pretty impressive. But yeah, we'll take that with a grain of salt. Matter of fact, the Lakers lost, so
Word up, word up.
I tried. Can't say I didn't show my support. Uh, Anthony Davis, I'm wishing for a healthy and powerful season. This is a season that you need to go out and dominate. You got guys like Steph, Chris Paul, Klay Thompson, Draymond. You got guys like Booker, KD, Bradley Beal. Um, it's guys trying to take your head off out there in the West, right? So,
Mhm.
eh, you got Braun,
Mhm.
but Braun got you. You know what I'm saying? And he understands
Facts.
that when you're at full strength, the Lakers are best when Anthony Davis is giving them, 30 something points, 10 rebounds, couple assists, and then playing great defense. So um, it'll be interesting to see how things unfold, how LeBron gets into year 21, and finds his groove. And But the Lakers are going to have to figure things out. I'm not saying that they should be worried. They competed. It was a good game. I'm just saying they're going to have to figure things out because with guys like Cam Reddish in the lineup, I don't imagine he's going to be there all season. So Darvin Ham will figure out what he needs to. But
No,
I'm excited to see the
absolutely,
Heat play the
absolutely.
Pistons. Not to cut you off tomorrow. That's what I'm waiting for. I just want to see us come out and what the rotations are going to look like. How Spo's going to play with the that sounded crazy, but how Spo's going to incorporate the youth of the lineup is what I'll say.
Nah, the other thing I was gonna say is the Lakers will open at home, their home opener against Phoenix on Thursday. Nuggets will be in Memphis on Friday night. These teams will see each other two more times. Once in February, once in March. Both times in LA. I'm sure that the Lakers will have those games circled, and Denver will probably look ahead.
Right,
Is
right.
probably what it's gonna look like. Let's pivot over to the other game tonight. That's live right now, if I'm not mistaken. We got Phoenix in Golden State. Phoenix is up 47-38. About 3 minutes left in the first half. Surprising to you, or are you just kind of taking these first games with a grain of salt because everyone's kind of getting back into the groove?
100%. And you know that. Like I already told you how I felt about basketball in general up until Christmas, New Year's time. I mean, it's competitive. They're energetic, but they're also trying to find their legs, their rhythm. It's everybody's just figuring things out. These aren't even the lineups that we're gonna see come crunch time. So for right now, I just appreciate the game. Watch and fan. I'll be a fan for sure. But as far as like
Oh yeah.
evaluation and this is gonna be this is how they're gonna be this year. Way too early. Give it at least a month. And then you can start trying to because you got to figure out tendencies too. And it's not going to
Hmm.
be a 5 game span. Like a 5 game span in the 82 game season is crazy to go off of. Obviously, if it's the first 5 games, that's what you're game planning for. That's a total different thing. But to analyze and to critique and try to make it seem like this is at all going to be the same team. Come June, come late May. No, it's not. So, with a grain of salt.
I got a question for you. And this is kind of something that was mentioned in the group chat that I mentioned. Do you feel like Phoenix addressed their depth issues from last year with their acquisitions in this Dame trade and what they did this offseason?
So let me I'm gonna pull up their roster real quick. I know they got Eric Gordon, excuse me. I know they got Eric Gordon.
Eric?
Um, and I did like that pickup. Grayson Allen, I did like that pickup. Um, you know, the thing is when you got a team that's as top heavy as they are, it's gonna be tough to fill out the roster as beautifully as you'd like to. You would assume that they're going to try to figure out the guys on the team's roles as the season goes on. And a guy like Grayson Allen, a guy like who I mentioned, Eric Gordon, Damian Lee, these guys can be key pieces as far as you don't need them to go out and ball, right? You have your guys, but you need them to be able to hold it down and keep you in a game if your guys come out and you guys are down or you guys are just have a small lead. You got to have that trust in these guys. So they're going to figure out in the beginning half of this season what's working, what they like as far as who's holding down their roles. I don't think it's the deepest. They're not the deepest team for sure they're not, but like I said, when you're that top heavy, you got to focus on that. And KD and Bradley Beal and Devin Booker should be pretty good to figure things out with. So I think they'll be all right.
Love that. And you said the Heat play tomorrow, right? It's a bigger slate tomorrow. Some interesting slates tomorrow. I want to see that Cavs and Nets game tomorrow. Is the biggest one that I want to see, just because I want to see how consistent Ben Simmons is going to be this year. I think that's like the
you
the
you on his ass?
That's I think that's the biggest question surrounding the Nets at this point is can he be, I guess, as cool as these preseason highlights look all season for the entire season, you know?
Yeah,
Outside of the Heat game, what kind of
definitely.
which matchup are you looking forward to?
7 o'clock, ESPN, Knicks Celtics. I mean, this is a two teams right here that one, the Knicks think they can take the East, and Knicks fans wholeheartedly believe that. I mean, I don't blame them. You know, they were competitive last year. Obviously, fell short in a 6 game series in the second round, but they've gotten better with the key pieces they have growing year in year out. So you have to give them credit there. And then I'm interested to see what Boston is going to be able to do with new acquisitions like Kristaps Porzingis. Trading Marcus Smart. How's that going to affect their front court? Because now they have to rely more so on a Malcolm Brogdon, who's getting older and not as consistent as he once was in his Milwaukee days. So I'm going to be interested to see, how Boston's going to shape their lineups for now, um, and yeah, I want to see this Knicks team come out with, they had a fire in the playoffs last year for good reason. They were hot. They were one of the NBA's hottest teams after January, and once they found their stride, it was pretty tough to stop them. Jalen Brunson became, a top point guard in the league, top scorer in the league, and in the playoffs. Um, So I just want to see that continuation. Don't let momentum stop just because your season finished. RJ Barrett continued growth year 5 now or 6 now, whatever the case is. So it's a lot to see in that matchup right there. And, it's the first matchup probably of like 3 or 4 they'll play this year. And it's one of 82, but at the same time, this is a rivalry game. This is teams that really look to beat each other, and the Heat play this same Celtics team in Boston on Friday. So um, just that little stretch, they play Wednesday, and then again Friday versus another Eastern Conference dog. So I'll be excited to see how the Celtics handle that.
Yeah, they play 4 times total this season, twice respectively. And then the late night matchup that I have a question to you about the Mavericks at the Spurs, and I know Luca's still I think taking care of I think a calf injury if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if
Yeah,
I'm
he's a
wrong.
game time decision.
And we get our first regular season look at Mr. Wembanyama. And I saw a meme earlier that I don't know if you saw, but I'm gonna bring it up to you now. This is not scripted, folks. This is the first time that me and June are talking about this. I saw a meme that kind of had the like evolution of man type of feel to it,
Mm.
and it had David Robinson, it had Tim Duncan, it had David Robinson with his accolades, Tim Duncan with Tim Duncan's accolades, and then it had Wembanyama with a question mark. Do you think that this is, kind of to break it down how the Packers have their system, you know what I mean? Could system in San Antonio.
Well, I do think that he can be the next guy, and I think he will be the next guy. I think he's too skilled and too big physically to not be able to have a lot of success just in general. But when you look at how he puts it all together, elite shooting, he has ball handling skills like a forward. I can't vouch for his IQ. We'd have to see how he adjusts to the NBA game. Um, but he's like 19, 20 years old. So the ceiling is is way up. I also think that having Greg Popovich still, who feels like revived now because he was on his way out, he was going to retire. He saw that draft lottery, got the number one pick, and he kind of was like popped another
Uh,
Cialis on their ass.
like when you at the party and someone popping up the bottle or something or spark a
Yeah,
joint, like,
like
I'll
all
stay a
right,
little bit.
all right, all right. I didn't know you had that. Yeah, exactly. So Um, I think with him and then a guy like Tim Duncan who's around. I don't know if he's coaching or he's just always around. You know that he's going to be in Wembanyama's ear. Tony Parker, a French fellow mate who's ex Spur. These guys are gonna be around, and David Robinson himself, I'm sure, is gonna be a help to try to just bring this all together with Pop and make it work, because they probably understand this kid can really be the next best thing in the NBA if we treat it correct. And that's really the only reason I'm kind of glad for him that he went to San Antonio, because he's going to be taken care of, and we know that. Like, obviously with Kawhi, that situation, the way it handled itself, I guess, in his 8th year, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's business, and shit gets wishy-washy eventually regardless. But it was so crucial for his developmental, state, for him to be in San Antonio so that they could be patient with him. He could play with guys like, you know, Tony Parker. He played with guys like Tim Duncan and things like that. So yeah, I'm glad he's in a great situation, and hopefully in 10 years that meme will say, 2-time MVP, 9-time All Star. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
all NBA. Because how the fuck not is really the question. Like, the guy's 7'5".
Oh man. I do know I do how when you say why the fuck not, we all know a couple of people, we probably met them in high school, met them throughout our lives. It's like, bro, like, mad tall, like, yo, you play any sports? I'm like, nah, never. I'm like, whoa, what? Like,
No
you just missed the bag
coordination.
like that, bro?
Right. Right. So
Come on, man.
shout out
Hey,
to Wemby.
let's pivot. Yeah, fact. Shout out to Wemby. Let's pivot over to the NFL. I know I reference a lot of missed calls this weekend. The refs are under heavy scrutiny, heavy fire. Specifically, we saw some missed calls in the Dolphins game, right? I know you saw some missed calls in your Browns and Colts game, and there was that really weird fake fair catch call in the Iowa game that literally erased a win off of their spreadsheet. You know what I mean? Hey, out of those three, who
Colts.
do you think the ref screwed the most?
Colts. Colts. By far. And obviously, I'm a Colts fan. I'm like, I gotta get my shit off. I watched the Dolphins game. Horrendous. Dolphins were hoed. The question was, who was hoed the most? And I'm going with the Colts. I watched the Dolphins game. I watched the Colts game. I didn't watch the Iowa game, but I did see the play you're talking about as far as the fair catch. I think I mean, you call it a fair catch. So I cry about it. Like, bitch, you called a fair catch at the end of the day. Whether you feel like, oh, it bounced, I think somebody has to touch it for you to be able to touch it after a fair catch. And I'm not exactly sure. And because I thought the rule was, if you call a fair catch but it bounces, you could pick it up and advance it. Thought that was the rule. I could be wrong. I could be right. I didn't look up the rule because it's not such a big deal. At the end of the day, to me, you fair caught the ball. You wasn't trying to grab the ball.
There it
So
is.
it is what it is. Talk about the Dolphins game. I mean, how many missed calls? You know what I mean? And that's part of the reason Dolphins fans were upset. But the main reason is because they were calling everything on Miami. So if you're not gonna call anything, don't call. I get it. Like, hey, you miss calls, you miss calls. But if you're missing all the calls for us as Dolphins fans, but every time, we do something, the Eagles are getting a whistle. It's like, it's unfair. I mean, it's just one way about it. I read into that situation, and basically, like, the crew chief, not even the crew chief, but one of the referees, he's from Pennsylvania, a couple hours out of
Oh,
Philly, or an hour out of Philly. um, when Christian Wilkins made the roughing the passer play, he threw the flag. Typically, it's supposed to be supposedly another ref that calls the roughing the passer. That ref didn't call it. The Pennsylvania native ref calls it. You can
oh,
see there's a slowed down clip of the crew chief. He goes, "What's the call?" He goes, "Roughing the passer." The guy goes, he kind of side eyes him, and he goes, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Yeah." All right, roughing the passer. So it was just like, there was like, yo, look into his FanDuel accounts. Like, they was going crazy. Um, the Colts though, bro. When I tell you, I mean, we're at home and there's like say under 40 seconds to play, right? They've got a couple shots at the end zone, one timeout, the Browns. We got a rookie cornerback on Amari Cooper. So I get it. That's go attack that. I would go attack that. Try to kill that. Fair. There is a play where it was a second down. I don't think it was a third down. I think it was a second down. Uh, Amari Cooper runs a post corner
Mm-mm.
inside
Mm-hmm.
out. You know what I'm saying? On the post to the corner, right when he's making that, uh, uh, he initiates contact with our corner, which leads him to kind of lose a little bit of balance. And as he's trying to make up his balance, he now not grabs, but he kind of like engages, I would say, engages with Cooper. At that moment, the ball wasn't even thrown his way. The ref calls defensive holding, automatic first down. Arguable.
Oh,
I mean, that's tough, in that spot. It's tough. All right, cool. Now, a couple plays later, it's like third down, second or third down. Again, there's a corner. There's a corner route to the back of the end zone. Now, was there some extracurricular, possibly pass interference? I would agree. But the rule is if the ball is not catchable, there is no flag. There is no foul. You cannot, there is no pass interference because there was no pass to be interfered with. And that ball was 9 yards out of bounds.
I
Like
mean, it
there
bounced
was
into the
no
stands if
play
I'm
on,
not mistaken.
no play on the ball. And they called a pass interference and ended up giving the Browns the ball first and goal at the 1 yard line with 4 more tries to punch it in with 10, 15 seconds left. Like, that's not football. And so I read a tweet. I'm gonna share the tweet with you. And it's Colts owner Jim Irsay. We know how much I love Jim Irsay.
Jim Irsay.
He goes, urgent NFL Colts news, right? This is Jim Irsay, verified account. Shout out to Anthony Richardson, by the way. He did have a successful surgery, so we are rooting for you in your recovery. He says, number 5 QB Anthony Richardson surgery today in LA was a success. It was a long procedure and his shoulder injury has been repaired. No new surprises were found during that surgery. They just repaired what was expected. Anthony is doing well and thanks everyone for the support. There is presently no date for his return. His second point says, the NFL admits and understands that they did not make the correct calls at the end of the Sunday's Colts-Browns game. I believe we need to institute a instant replay for all calls, including penalties, in the last 2 minutes of all games. So, with that, real quick, I wanted to jump into the conversation of first conversation. Shout out to Jim Irsay for always dragging his balls through Twitter and on the NFL's forehead. But a couple years ago, your team, Kansas City, who got a nice win on Sunday, right?
Very nice, very nice
All right,
over the league's worst passing defense. But we won't talk about
there
it.
you go. So the Colts, um, geez, I just lost my train of thought with what I was going with. Apologize to the listeners. Where was I? I was saying that, your team, AFC Championship, Bills, Chiefs, a couple years ago, it was one of the best games we ever saw, right? Again, apologies for losing my train of thought. After that game, the NFL then had a lot of controversy. There was a lot of talk on Twitter and social media and everywhere about how games should be ended. The opportunity in overtime, change the rule, change the rule. And the cries were loud enough and they were heard. And the NFL implemented something to change and give a more equal to fair opportunity for both teams in an overtime setting. Fast forward to last Sunday, we have, or 2 days ago, we have horrendous officiating across the league. In the NFL in general, this season has been a struggle, if you ask me. I thought NBA refs last year were pretty bad, but like these NFL refs this year are pretty bad. I wonder if the NFL is going to take this at all serious and look into reviewing calls in the last 2 minutes and instituting that instant replay. Because a pass interference call can change a game, and we know that. That's a spot
Absolutely.
foul. So we would like to see some justice for those. And they tried this, right? They tried the you can challenge a flag, but that didn't necessarily work out. What this is in the last 2 minutes of a game, you can review a penalty. And I think that's more fair. I think that would make fans a little happier, and things like that. Because if it happened, it happened. You can't ever argue a foul. But if it didn't happen, and much like I'm saying the NBA refs last year were bad, the NFL refs this year are bad, I think the MLB umpires this year were the worst. I don't know if it was the pitch clock.
Ooh.
I don't know if it was the speed of the game, but balls and strikes haven't been this bad. I don't remember, seeing
Yeah,
it
there
this
were some
bad. So,
egregious calls this year. Absolutely.
and we're still seeing it in the playoffs. Um, it's so unfair because a ball and a strike can swing the at bat, a game, an inning, so many ways. And for an umpire to be able to have the dictation to say it was what I think I saw, that's got to be frustrating, bro. So
I hope so.
I hope so. Shit. So I'll be interested to see if the NFL
Oh
responds.
man. Let's talk about something else that's driving people crazy. That they want changed. The Philadelphia Eagles continue to run this play. My man said we are 1st and 9 every time we step on the field.
First and
First
eight.
and 9. And I know I mentioned it to you earlier. I saw a clip about how there's a rule called assisting the runner. You're not allowed to assist the runner. And they're saying that once Jalen Hurts' feet stop moving and his linemen are just pushing him, that is assisting the runner. Me How do you feel about the tush push? Pause is what they're calling it on TV.
So I personally, man, I don't have any issue with that. I don't think that it's a cheat. I don't think that it goes against the integrity of the game. I truly think that it's something that has been mastered by one specific team. Um, it's a short yardage situation based play that is as obvious as a Hail Mary with 1 second left at the opposing 40-yard line. You know what I'm saying? You know it's coming. Um, Not being able to stop it is something totally different, right? Uh, I don't see where the complaints come from. Like, so you're telling me that if I can run my first down, second down, third down with a mentality of all we need to pick up within these three plays is 8 yards, and on fourth down we'll pick up hopefully 1 yard, but up to 2 yards on this play that we've designed. I mean, not even designed; they just have mastered it. What's what is the issue? What is the issue? Like, stop! Don't let them get 4th and 1. Don't let them get 4th and 2. They're not going to do it on 4th and 5. It's not. It's not like it's a glitch. It's not like it's a cheat code where they're like, "Yo, every single play we're going to get 8 yards on this." No, it's just situational, and they find themselves in a lot of fourth and shorts because I believe they understand that they don't have to go and get 10 yards in 3 plays, and it makes their life more simple. So I agree with the play. I think that it should take them all the way to the Super Bowl. And shit, what's wrong with it?
She, hey, I know one thing's for sure. I don't have anything wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Two, that's definitely not what you know won Philly the game or lost Miami the game. I can tell you what lost Miami the game, and it was Philadelphia's defense. I mean, the Dolphins had 120 yards after catch plus. Against Philly, they had 53. Like weeks 1 through 6, they were like 180 rushing yards. Against Philly, they had 45. So it was definitely, obviously, the offense staying on the field, but that defense just turning up. I mean, eliminating, I think it was an average of like 3 possessions for Miami. I think Miami had like 8 possessions all game, 2 possessions a quarter, which in the NFL these days, with the way that offenses are scoring and the field is kind of shrinking in a way, it's not going to win you games. I mentioned to you earlier, strength of schedule is a topic of conversation with the Dolphins now. Do you think it's a valid conversation? Do you think that they've been beaten up on, you're putting 70 on, this team and beating the Panthers 42 to whatever, you know what I mean? How do you feel about the strength of schedule conversation at this point in the season?
I mean, I don't like the strength of schedules conversation per se. The schedule is what it is, and it came out last year. Like the schedule for next year is already out. We know the opponents. You know what I'm saying? The dates aren't set, but so it's not about like people say like, oh well, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. They should have the hardest schedule. I mean, bro, the schedule, like I said, the schedule is already out. Like the opponents are already set a year before, so it doesn't matter, and nobody knows. But I think it just is interesting to see how things play out given said schedule. The Dolphins are struggling against teams with winning records, and it's clear. And yeah, they beat up on and win the games that they're supposed to, which is a good sign. And they struggle in the games that they should be competing in and possibly winning. So I think it's just more to, are the Dolphins playing down to their or up to their competition? You know, like because yeah, they'll come out and put 70 on the Broncos. They'll go and put 40 on the Panthers. But we look at the Bills game, we look at this Eagles game, and I mean, Eagles have a great run defense, let's be honest, and not being able to run the ball. Obviously, the Dolphins also not being at full strength without a guy like Devin Achane. Achane is unfortunate, but it's the way the cookie crumbles. And in this league, you got to figure things out week by week. So it's telling for sure. And the Dolphins are going to have to figure it out. And can you bring up their upcoming schedule by any chance?
Yeah, absolutely.
They've got the Chiefs next
They
week, right?
no, they got the Patriots coming to town this week, and then they do have the Chiefs in Germany the week after, next week, next Sunday.
I mean, that's
So
that's that's
Patriots, Chiefs, Raiders, Jets,
so I mean
Commanders, Titans.
Patriots, Chiefs, and Jets. Like that's gonna be where we can really see what the Dolphins are about. And I say Patriots and Jets, those aren't two of the top teams in the NFL. I don't believe those teams, either of them, have winning records. Um, but if that strength of schedule thing comes out, I mean, this Bills team just beat the Bills. I mean, this Patriots team just beat the Bills, right? And they did that with an elite defense. And that's the same defense that I've talked about since the offseason. Um, that Chiefs team, we don't got to say much. And that Jets team is a team who is talented enough to win in this league, but doesn't have a quarterback that can make sure of that week in, week out. And they put teams up to the test. They're gonna play great defense and force you to beat them outscore them. And if you can do it, great. But the Jets have been doing a pretty good job these last few weeks at holding their own. So I think these next 4 weeks are going to be very interesting for the Dolphins, and it'll shape out a lot of the rest of their season.
I'm glad that you mentioned the Bills because I definitely wanted to pivot over to them. Like you just said, they lost to New England in Foxborough this week. Josh Allen looked very frustrated in the post game conference. You know me, I don't want to call myself a Josh Allen hater, but I just don't think he's that guy.
I'll
What
say
is
this.
going on in Buffalo?
Daniel texted the group chat. He said Josh Allen has 95 turnovers since he's come in the league. And by golly, that explains a lot. You know, I I mean, you don't take care of the football, you can't win games. And this is coming from a Colts fan who, if you didn't know, by the way, the Colts are the only team in the league to have scored 20 or more points in every game this season. And that's just the same Coach Shane Steichen effect in that offense. Did we win all those games? No. We have a losing record at 3-4 because we lost the turnover battle in a few of those games. And losing that turnover battle is typically, not always, but typically going to lose you the game as well. So that's something the Bills are going to have to figure out. Not, oh, we need 2 turnovers a game. We just need to not turn the ball over every game. We need to not be careless with the football. Um, and we need to stop playing down to our opponents. And it's evident that they do that. It's evident that they do that because that Jets team with Zach Wilson week 1 should not have beaten the Bills. Like that, they clearly shouldn't have. But Josh Allen want to throw 3 or 4 interceptions. Like, gifting it like it's Christmas. So, I mean, until he figures that little bug out, it's going to be the same story with the Bills. It'll be the same story, and it might start ending sooner. Like, we might not see these
Mm,
AFC championships. Like, the Bills might run into the Ravens in the playoffs this year, and that'll be a good game. So, I'll leave that there with the
yeah, I
Bills.
mean,
I'm not too
I
sure.
guess there's a reason that we haven't seen them in a championship, AFC championship game in 3, 4 years at this point, if I'm not mistaken. So, ugh, I hope they get it together. And it's crazy that we just talked about the Dolphins and their apparent again we use the phrase strength of schedule. Um, the Bills could still win the AFC East at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Is how it's kind of
Oh,
looking.
yeah.
You know what I mean? They
Oh, yeah.
could still win the AFC East with how it's looking right now. I want to pivot over to the NFC, over to a team that we don't really talk about too much. What you want? What's up?
Shout out to them Arizona Diamondbacks going to the World Series.
Breaking it here first. You heard it first on ATS Pod. The
You,
Arizona Diamondbacks.
you see them boys, man. Hold up. You see them
That's
boys, man.
beautiful.
Shout out to the
That's
National
beautiful.
League champion Arizona Diamondbacks.
Arizona Diamondbacks. Hell
So
yeah.
we got Texas versus Arizona.
That's
That's gonna be
exciting,
a
man.
good
You
one.
find
That's
you
gonna
find
yeah.
Diamondbacks in Texas.
It's gonna be a good one. Hey, so what were you talking about with this NFC here?
Yeah, the team that we don't really talk about too much. The Commanders. Sam
Commander.
Howell through 7 games this season. I saw this morning on social media. I had to fact check it, and it is true. Through 7 games, he's been sacked 40 times. 40 times. And this is a team that we had high hopes on, obviously, with Bieniemy, coming over from Kansas City and, a new offense and, just hoping that things go good for Bieniemy at the end of the day because, he deserves, a such and such job. And it's not looking too good over there right now. They lost the last 4 out of 5. You're not protecting the QB at all. As an offensive coordinator, it's not looking good. Rivera, I mean, there's just no words to even describe him as a head coach. Like I don't even really acknowledge him that he's even a part of the
Tired
organization.
of it.
Um, do you think this Bieniemy, Ron Rivera, Sam Howell saga lasts in Washington? And who's gone first is the better question.
Yeah, I think it's gotta be the coach. It's gotta start from the top. Um Sam Howell to me is first of all, he's still young. So the verdict's still out, and it's not like, oh yeah, this is all you're gonna get. Like Sam Howell still does things week in, week out that can wow you and surprise you, where you're like, yo, this kid can play. Um, I don't think he's the problem. And being sacked 40 times is not your fault. Now, be enemy and play calling. I'm not watching all of Washington's games, so I can't tell you exactly why they're struggling specifically every week. But Ron Rivera admitted to what was it? He forgot what it was. One of those weeks where he admitted something as a coach where you're just like, okay,
Yo, fam.
what it was he basically started Carson Wentz over this kid. What's his
Somehow.
name? Sam Howell. Thank you.
Sorry.
And basically like came out after and said like, yeah, I think I should have started Howell, and I went with Wentz. And so clearly Ron Rivera, to me, I think his best days are behind him. Um
Mm.
and it's not like he's a bad coach. Like he has a great message. He has the respect of guys in the locker room, and he's a good guy, and he's a good football coach. But I think that this NFL is too update. He hasn't updated his iOS. You know what I'm saying? And he got the enemy, and I thought that was gonna be like, you know what I'm saying, the hard drive, external hard drive with the new iOS. But I guess that the hard drive, he's plugging it into the MacBook, and it's not compatible. It's like a HP hard drive or something. He's trying to use it on the MacBook, and it won't update the iOS. So, um, will enemy get his first opportunity coaching the Redskins? Who knows? I said the Redskins. I meant the Commanders, but who knows? I just know that Ron Rivera, with a losing record, should be on the hot seat. Should be hot enough to get him out.
There it is. There it is. There it is. There it is. And then I referenced this earlier as well. I'm gonna pivot right back to the AFC, to my division, the Chargers leading the league in the worst. Well, I guess I can't even say, can't even phrase it that way. They have the worst pass defense in the league right now. And I think they're allowing something like 300. Oh no, I'm lying to you. It's like 210 yards a game or something like that. It's ridiculous. The next team down, I think, is Jacksonville. It's allowing like 160, 170. Don't quote me on that. They're and the team after that is like another 20 yards. And this is a team that, again, 2, 3 years ago, June, we had high hopes for. Justin Herbert was, looking like he was figuring it out. Was having trouble closing games. That's been the theme for Los Angeles. I always want to say San Diego, for Los Angeles, for some time now. And now we're just seeing games anymore, and it's not looking good. You're letting teams just kind of, railroad you. Um, Put pause. That was crazy.
That
What
was
do you-
crazy. I'm like, yo, hey, brother.
Does Justin Herbert have a promising future with the Chargers?
He does. He does. He absolutely does. And I'm you already know Little Hat. You know how I feel about Coach Brandon Staley. I know he's not that guy. I know he's not the one that should be coaching Justin Herbert. He's already, in such a short time that they've spent together, botched Justin Herbert's chances, coached a game plan that let the Jacksonville Jaguars come back in that playoff game last year, and is off to a, can you correct me if I'm wrong, 2-4 start. What are the Chargers?
Yeah, they're 2-4. They're third in the AFC West.
The Chargers, like the Chargers are behind the Broncos or the Raiders right now,
Raiders.
bro. The Raiders suck. The
They're
Raiders
really
tank
bad.
job is in full effect. We're seeing it. We are watching the Raiders tank job as we speak. as we speak. Like right now, even though they're not playing right now, if you tune into Las Vegas, you'll see the Raiders tank job
They're
undergoing. But
tanking.
like my thing is Justin Herbert is as talented as a quarterback can be. I mean, he misses throws, of course. He makes bad decisions. He doesn't play well in the clutch all the time. But I think there's a lot of factors that go into that. And one of those factors is coaching. When the guy like that is your head coach, I don't think it's ever going to work in Los Angeles as long as Brandon Staley is their head coach. And I'll leave it
Mm.
at that. But I'll also piggyback onto your point with them being the worst pass defense in the league by 50 yards. I mean, you got to expect Justin Herbert to come out here and be something he shouldn't have to be every week. He shouldn't have to throw for 340 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like give Justin Herbert a good O line and a running back so that they can run the ball for 120 yards in a game. You know what I'm saying? Why does he got to throw the ball 57 times? So I think there's a lot of that as well. In a better coaching system, I think Justin Herbert will be fine, and that can be in San Diego, excuse me, in Los Angeles. But Brandon Staley, I mean, like I just said, 2-4. Who's to blame? That's not Justin Herbert's fault. It's not.
Mm. Mm, mm, mm. And of course, like you said, sitting in a division with Kansas City and Las Vegas. I mean, you should be the Chargers. Like I said, we had very high aspirations. You should be in that number two spot consistently every year. And it's it's the Chiefs and everybody else in that division, and it's you don't want to. It should be the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the other two, but it's literally the Chiefs and everybody else.
Yeah.
And Staley, like Kevin is in the comments, Staley consistently puts Herbert in bad situations, is what Kevin said. Shout out to Kevin in the comments. And that's facts. I mean, coaching all around has to. I do believe that he has a promising future with the Chargers. Not as promising as 80% win rate that Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are currently holding, but pretty promising, I'd say.
Hey, Kev, shout out to you, bro. I appreciate you. Can you clarify what analogy was crazy? I want to hear
I
what
think,
analogy. I don't
yeah,
know.
I think, I think it was the one I paused on.
Oh.
The train, the
Okay.
train.
Never, Kev. Never mind. Kev, never mind. I got you. You didn't have to repeat it, but okay. Nah, fucking yeah. I just think it's very frustrating as a Chargers fan. I'd be livid. Like I don't know how I would deal with this franchise because I mean all the talent in the world, players on players on players, new stadium, great jerseys, L.A.
Mhm.
fucking Brandon Staley makes sense. It makes sense. So I'll say this. We're not gonna talk about next week's games, but I did want to bring up the fact that the Colts play the Saints. I think we'll have a good chance. Chris Olave was arrested on speeding charges. So
Mhm.
I'm praying that the Saints will, say, here's a 1 game suspension for, breaking our team rules. Uh, it's not gonna happen, by the way. But anyways, Chris Olave, just be a little smarter. I mean, I'm not mad. I'm not mad at a guy who's 21 years old, rich as fuck, balling in the NFL, and has a sports car that he wants to go fucking 120 in. I mean, it's irresponsible to an extent, but I mean, you can. I mean, street racers be doing it. You know what I'm saying? I got drifting homeboys. I don't be mad at them because I know that they're not just putting people in harm's way on purpose and they're not just being ignorant about it. So he might have just been feeling himself driving. He didn't have any guns. He didn't have any drugs on him. He wasn't under any type of substance. So, it's just a young kid living his life, man. I'm not mad at it. He told the cop though, he said, I play for the Saints. The cop said, and cop was definitely a Falcons fan.
Oh,
No,
for
Cop is
sure.
definitely a Panthers fan.
Oh God. Oh God.
0-6 head ass boy. So
Oh man. Hey, unless you got anything else, I got a couple EPL takes, a little bit of Champions
get
League.
up out of here. Get us up out of here.
Yeah. And we are currently 9 weeks into EPL. Top four teams: Tottenham, Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool. Um, Newcastle in six right now. They're in Champions League as well, so they kind of have two things to worry about: staying in the run for the league title, and then staying in Champions League, which more group stages happened today, which I'll get into in a second. Chelsea, just struggling still, middle of the table. A team that obviously name rings bells, name holds weight, and they just have not been beating teams that they're supposed to beat, have been losing to teams they're supposed to lose to. It's just not a good recipe. And shout out to although they are, the fourth worst team in the league right now, that if the season would end today, they would not be relegated. They would stay in the Premier League. So let's hope that they stay at 17, just out of relegation. And then Champions League today, Napoli won 1-0 to against Union Berlin. Um, Inter won 2-1, Napoli 1-0, Real Sociedad. I mean, it's all group stages. They're just playing for points. Man United did block a penalty today, which was pretty dope to secure the 1-0 win. So that was pretty cool. Arsenal, doing what Arsenal does, especially against a Spanish team in Sevilla. So I mean, it's those dog days of soccer right now, is what I'll say. It's a lot
Yeah.
of international play, Champions League group stages early, before the season turns to cold and goals start to drop, and we start seeing 0-0 ties and 1-0 wins in Premier League because no one wants to run in 30-degree weather in London anymore. So we're in that boring time of soccer, but slash exciting time once we get past these group stages. The only shout that I have is for the Las Vegas Aces, back to back. Out to Kelsey Plum and the gang. She was on the Pat McAfee show talking her shit today. That was pretty cool. Or yesterday, that was pretty cool. But yeah, shout out to the Vegas Aces, man. Back to back WNBA champions. Did it the right way.
Hell yeah. Shout out to the Vegas Aces, AJ Wilson. Them. Obviously, New York Liberty took the L, and Breonna Stewart didn't necessarily play her best basketball in that last elimination game. But it is what it is. I think that the season was great, and the Liberty showed a lot of fight, and that they belong in that championship race. So it'll be great to watch next year. My shout out is going to go to Miami Heat. Miami Heat basketball starts tomorrow. Um, we back, baby. We back, baby. We on the way. Y'all act like y'all not gonna see us in late April, early May. I'm talking about June and shit. And then the Heat just be playing basketball in June and shit. And it's just like, yeah, let's go Heat. Yeah. So, shout out to the Miami Heat, all them
Mhm.
boys, man. Tyler Hero.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Hey, appreciate the listeners tapping in, tuning in. If you watched it live, if you're rewatching it the next day or whenever you're watching it, we appreciate
Appreciate
you.
y'all.